blah, 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 blah. Talky. Hello. Okay. We've switched sides.
We have. Are you so confused? I am.
We've switched sides because my neck hurt.
Because he's old and his neck hurt and had to look in a different direction.
I needed the Today we're going to be talking about the Lyin the Watch. Oh, but I've been saying which, but it's the Watch.
Get it? The Watch?
The Lyin the Watch
and the
Wardrobe,
yes.
which originally aired on October 26th, just a few days before Halloween.
Yes, this is when TV shows did holiday episodes.
Holiday episodes. We did a lot of holiday episodes season 1.
Yeah, we sure did.
And then none ever again.
And then we canceled holidays. In this episode, it's Halloween and everyone is pretending to be something they're not.
Wilhelmina pretends she's still a size 2. Betty pretends she's a serial dater. And Amanda pretends she doesn't have feelings for Daniel.
I don't. While Daniel has lunch with his mother and learns about his dad's philandering past, Betty runs all over town trying to locate her boss's missing watch. Turns out I had it all along.
Meanwhile, Betty tells Christina she might have a crush on Henry from accounting. Ignacio comes clean about his undocumented status. And Wilhelmina and the masked woman plot their next move. Secrets everywhere.
This episode is the introduction of Judith Light's Claire Meade, correct?
We
meet Claire Meade for the first time.
It's the first time. There's a lot going on in this episode. So much going on in this episode. We meet Claire Meade for the first time.
The great Judith Light.
Light. Betty and Henry have their first lunch date.
Yeah. We find out about Wilhelmina's daughter, Nico, which originally was played by...
Johara Jones.
Yes. Later played by Yaya DaCosta, one of my co-stars on Lincoln Lawyer. Ugly Betty keeps showing up on Lincoln Lawyer. We never discussed that it was just a new actress one season.
Yeah,
That's very soap opera.
And I don't know why.
Maybe just for no reason.
Maybe scheduling or maybe.
But it's very telenovela. You recast an actress, call her the same name, and nobody says anything about it.
We also, this is the episode where Daniel has lost his watch, which is what the watch comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't know at whose home he left it. He sleeps around.
That was grammatically impressive. Because you don't want to say whose house he left it at, because that's not right. You don't end with a preposition.
You don't want to end a sentence with a preposition.
I'm impressed because at Juilliard, do they teach you grammar? I just thought it's just vocal technique. But yes, at whose house he left it.
While Betty is going around looking for who has the watch, and she's going from girlfriend to girlfriend, there's a character that is named Thursday Night. That's the character's name. And it was played by an actor named Tasha Taylor.
She's brilliant.
I didn't meet her.
She's so funny.
I don't know her, but she's fantastic.
Yes, she absolutely is.
Everything she does in that short scene is brilliant.
Yes.
So wherever you are, Tasha Taylor.
Tasha Taylor appreciation.
This is a Tasha Taylor appreciation moment because that was just a perfect performance.
Mm-hmm.
That somebody on a day player came in, didn't even have a name.
Thursday night
came in and nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are still talking about her 15 years later. She might not even remember she was on Ugly Betty, but
she will now.
When you get that residual check, it is earned,
yes.
Tasha Taylor. Betty's in costume because Marc and Amanda have tricked her into wearing a costume to work, it's such a sweet moment.
She's so cute in her costume. When she puts that butterfly costume on.
It's a great costume.
It's a great costume. She's absolutely beautiful. Gets all excited.
She shows up at work and she's like, I thought there was a costume contest.
But before she shows up, we see that Marc is dressed up as Betty.
Oh yeah, well that's how we open it. So the
whole episode opens with close up on you, dressed as Betty. And what do you say? Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. And I got the Betty, the title card.
Yes.
Usually the title card was on Betty.
And it was on you.
It was on me. That was really cool. Hola. Happy Halloween.
That is the absolute cruelest thing I've ever seen. Someone's getting a raise.
One thing about we make fun of Betty, you were literally dressed as Betty on the set on Halloween.
Eyebrows.
Incredible.
And I was fitted for I had dental
they do fake, basically fake teeth. but you need to have a mouth guard. Isn't it like a mouth guard with braces on it? Either way, it was a thing. Turning
braces.
you into Becki was a thing.
And I had them for a long time. I don't know where they are. I lost them. But
I wish you
had
still
them for,
had
I know,
those.
I wish
Oh my
let me
gosh.
keep them because they were formed to my teeth.
Right, nobody else can wear those.
My janky little teeth. There's a lot happening in this episode.
I loved this episode. It's
one
of my favorites. I think I have a real soft spot for the beginning of the love story between Betty and Henry.
It's so sweet.
I also think it's just this idea of masks. And I think we've talked about this, every character and every person, every human. The masks we put on, when we choose to put them down, who do we pretend to be? Who do we want people to think we are?
Yeah.
And even Betty goes through this.
Yeah.
So yet again, brilliant Silvio, every single character. It's not the mode people. It's everybody.
Everyone's
who are we pretending to be? And
whether it's a Halloween mask or a
whatever it is, and when do we put them down? And when do we let people see the real us, whatever that means.
And you are so good in this episode. This is when and you're not usually. So that's what's
my God, thank you so much. It's true. It's so true.
No, you of course are always brilliant. But this is the first time we get to see that you're a human being. That Amanda's a real human being.
And the whole thing was like,
you've got heartbreak.
I think this might have been where Amanda went from being this sort of, we're not sure how long she's going to be around, the gift that Silvio gave me of, here's a chance, like you can show a different side.
What the hell are you doing?
Was this all just one big joke to you? Watching me run around the city in a butterfly suit, getting underwear thrown at my head, all for laughs?
Do I look like I'm laughing?
Then why didn't you say something if you had this watch the entire time?
Why? Maybe because I was hoping that Monday night was the one night of the week your boss would remember. God, stupid me, huh?
And I remember distinctly reading that thinking, what does Amanda look like when she cries? Even I wondered if Amanda ever cried. It was scary.
Wow.
Because how serious, tonally at this point, we'd never seen Amanda. Amanda rolls her eyes a lot. I was eating a lot of candy.
Yeah.
I was always kind of like sneering at people. But what does it look like? And those scenes were with me in America, who right away, such a heavy hitter, so dialed in. For me, I didn't have a lot of experience acting. I was just starting to figure out this surface Amanda. What a gift right away to go, no, we're going to see what Amanda looks like when she's sad.
Oh. Do you remember shooting that scene in the bathroom? That great scene.
Yeah, I remember. The thing I remember the most was Amanda falls apart and we finally see that, she does love Daniel. And I think we learn also that this sexuality that she leads with and offers up, there's underneath that, she loves him and she's a human. And I think she flirts with Daniel. She plays the part of one of these many women that he sleeps with. But even in that scene, she admits that she feels like if she holds out long enough, maybe he will actually love her back. And how sad is that? But anyway, my favorite part—
I'm holding you like it's really you.
But my favorite part, and this was the director, Rodman gave me this note, is after I fall apart in the bathroom, I look at Betty and I go, this didn't happen. And I put my head back up and I march right back out there. My mask is back on. Yeah. I'm going to go be Amanda again. I'm not that human.
Right.
And just amazing.
When I rewatched this episode the other day, in prep for this, for our episode, I didn't remember what happened. And when she enlists you to send flowers to all of the women. So basically he slept with a different woman every night. And Betty has to go from woman to woman and ask if they have the watch that he needs because he's going to see the watchmaker, blah, blah, blah. And she asks you to send them all flowers.
Oh, but even before, the really sad part you're forgetting?
What?
Amanda goes, what did he say about Monday night?
Yeah.
And Betty goes, he didn't remember who it was Monday night.
And that was when I realized, oh my God, that's right.
He doesn't even remember that they hooked up.
Monday night was Amanda.
And he's like, he's drawing a blank. And
I remember gasping when I was watching it.
That's so
rewatching it.
Sad.
And I watched and I was like, oh, it's her. And I totally had forgotten. It is really, really
and it turns out he doesn't even remember. Meanwhile, she's clearly in love with him. And she has to send flowers to everybody, sends herself flowers. But it was great because it was still like Amanda pretending everything was okay, but we knew it wasn't. And they gave me this opportunity to create this multidimensional character so early on.
Yeah.
And that was so important because I easily could have just stayed a background fixture, mean, and like one note, and it was just incredible so early on.
Yeah. This was there was also a big Walter episode.
Huge.
Great Kevin Sussman as Walter.
Oh, showing up in his beekeeper outfit.
Yes.
I don't know what it was. A guy, it's like a
Butterfly
safari
catcher.
outfit. Butterfly catcher. So Betty was a butterfly. And it is very Betty to want her boyfriend to match her outfit. So like he did what he was supposed to do. He's like, look, Betty. And you could just feel that she had one foot out the door.
Yeah.
And you could just feel it because from everywhere he showed up, you could just,
She's done.
And then he literally puts the net over her head. And she's like, that's cute, Walter, but stop, right?
Yeah.
Stop it.
Stop trying
and you
to
could
control me.
Yes, and let me fly. And she, of course, at the office meets Henry.
All around the same moment.
just the same moment where she's shifting, she's changing. She's been at Mode a while. It's not such a crazy play. Like she's getting more comfortable there.
Yeah.
So comfortable that she can walk in and realize she's been set up. And we said that there was a costume
Yes.
cut, and she goes, okay.
She goes, well, I guess I win.
Right. So it's like she's learning how to manage Mode, and we're all having so much fun.
Yeah. And Walter asks Betty to move in with him. He gives her a bowl of candy with a key.
And you could
to
just
his
feel her
apartment.
like, oh no, he asked me.
Yeah. And Betty goes to Christina for advice, and
And she tells her to flit.
she says to
She
flit.
says, you should flit. And Betty goes, I don't know how to flit. One thing I'd forgotten about.
Yeah.
This is when we meet Claire Meade, Judith Light.
This is the
And we
great.
meet her because Daniel goes to visit his mom, Claire Meade, in rehab. I'd
Yeah.
totally forgotten.
You had forgotten that she
Just
was
that
in
there
rehab?
was this piece of like
Yeah, that's where she was.
alcoholic. And when I saw the scene where he's looking for information, he's trying to solve like what is going on with Dad, what was going on with Faye Summers, and when she says to him, "Give me that glass of wine and I'll tell you,"
Yeah.
that scene where I saw Eric Mabius' little face, and it was like a little boy, and I think
Yeah.
I was so busy in our Mode, silly, crazy world that I think I didn't appreciate at the time what Eric was doing. There was so much silliness and fun, and Eric was playing this character that's trying to like prove who he was to his parents. His mom's a recovering alcoholic, and he was so sincere and so genuine and so tortured in that scene. It was so good.
Yeah, incredible.
And then of course just Judith, like right away, her presence.
Gorgeous.
This is Judith as a human. She was Claire Meade.
Oh, yeah.
Like just everything about her,
Remember
the walk and the talk and everything was just
when she's like, they took away my perfume. Now I smell like people. And then
Yes.
she goes, what did they think I was going to do? Drink it. So good.
Did your father tell you they confiscated my perfume?
I guess they are worried you might.
What? Drink it. Oh, come on, Daniel. Bad enough I can't board first class with my liquid eyeliner. Now I have to walk around smelling like people.
But a great example of when she says, ugh, I smell like people. We're not mad at her. We're like, oh my God, you do. Like,
You're
it's just-
fabulous.
right?
And then we're
that's-
like, what did she smell like before?
right.
You wanna
So
know.
it's just this great, like she could
Have
be
you ever
so.
been around?
ahead.
Sorry, this is a name drop. Have
it.
you ever been around Anna Wintour?
No.
She smells so good.
What does she smell like?
I don't even know. It's some kind of flower or something, but it's like
She
nobody's
smells like
ever
a
smelled like
flower?
that before.
Do you know who I smelled once? The Rock, and he smelled like roses and cinnamon. He hugged me, and I was like, and he smelled like gummy bears. Like he just smelled so good. Oh my God. Okay, wait, keep going. Okay, wait. So he goes to a rehab facility, yes,
Oh my
and he takes her out. They get a little hammered. Betty visits the flings. We talked about that. Hilda and
Oh well,
Betty.
she lets him. Yeah, Claire says, "I'll tell you about Faye Summers if you." And what she tells him is that Bradford was having an affair with Faye forever.
And when he said, but was he capable of murder? She says he's capable of anything. So it deepens this mystery that like something happened to Faye Summers and someone knows more about it. It also showed that Claire was the sort of long-suffering wife of this man that was in love with somebody else.
Yeah.
Like so tragic, so sad.
How good is Judith when she comes back to the facility and she's a little drunk?
Yeah.
So real. Such a good drunk.
I know. I've seen you play drunk a lot, and it's also brilliant. Remember when you were drunk on stage? I don't know. You were like, I just remember, what show was it?
The
Was
Government
it
Inspector.
The Government Inspector?
When I fell off the stage?
You fell off the stage. You were climbing the stage. You were like wrapping a phone. You're pretending to wrap a phone cord around your neck.
You're
Just
combining.
brilliant.
That was Torch Song.
I've
That's
seen
two
Michael
different shows.
many times on stage, making me laugh many times. Okay, wait. So Hilda and Betty press Ignacio about why his social security number belongs to a dead man man. Eventually, he comes clean and tells Betty that he's in the country illegally. Again, the brilliance of this show is that you're like, not Poppy. Like one would think that this family is doing everything right and all the evil people at Mo do everything wrong. And we're just seeing over and over, all these characters are really flawed and really amazing. And neither cancels out the other.
It's such a bold storyline.
Really bold
to do.
At that time. We're talking 20. Even now, that's a bold storyline.
Well, now it would be. Now it's maybe bolder. I mean, it's like such a
that Silvio was willing to tackle that head on with this beloved father of this beloved family. Like how incredibly brave, and just the way Tony played it, because the flip side is Tony throughout this episode is Mr. Halloween. Like how cute that he's got grown children and he's still trying to scare them and he's dressing up in costumes. And so he's this playful, lovely, but when they bring up the serious stuff, you could tell he's like, nope, I just want to talk about Halloween. So cool.
Big
so interesting.
Let's do an appreciation moment for the great Tony Plana.
Incredible. I still call him Poppy.
Such a good actor.
Yeah.
And you really see so many colors of Ignacio in this.
So
in this
early,
episode.
but and he also was a real anchor for this whole show. Like the gratitude and the guidance, and I call him Poppy because he just felt like, to this day, I'm still in touch with him. He always talks about the kids and his kids, and he was just a real guiding, comforting, one of many of those types of presences we had on this set.
More Still Ugly after these words from our sponsors. Still there? We're still ugly.
And, this was our 6th episode, although 7th that we shot. And I guess, we found, Chris Gorham reminded us that when they shot this episode, it was when the buses, the ad. So it was about the time when the show was coming on.
And it felt big. It was like advertising and press and fancy. It just felt fancy and exciting.
It was starting to get real.
It was real.
We were shooting in the bubble, and then it was starting to get...
We're on this thing that's being launched and being celebrated already before people had even seen it.
And we'd had other guest stars come, but Judith was our first celebrity guest.
Yeah, and also I grew up.
Oh, same.
Who's the boss?
Who's the boss?
And also just who she is. She's just like this other amazing legend. And she wore it so well, with so much grace. And
I remember when she did at the table read, and I've met her. I said something to her like, I'm so glad you're on our show. And she sort of laughed and said, I'm glad I'm on your show too. And as soon as she said, I was like, why did I say our show? I felt silly for saying our show.
But she would never.
And of course, then it wasn't long before it was her show too.
Right.
She became such a important part of the show.
There was no show without Claire Meade. I mean, she just came and she was incredible. All of them were. We were so lucky. Betty learns Amanda has Daniel's watch. She has feelings for him. Amanda's vulnerable. Yeah. Wilhelmina accepts she's not as young as she used to be.
Yeah.
Her grown daughter shows up. And a great example, a mask. Wilhelmina is all mask. And then we're like, oh no, she has a grown daughter. We don't even know about her.
Yeah.
Amazing.
There's some really funny scenes with Wilhelmina not fitting into a dress and Christina having
so funny.
And it was really.
They didn't want to admit it was a size 4, and when they do, she screams so loudly that you can hear it all over New York City.
Yes, so funny. But this is one of those even though this episode is so iconic for Marc because he dresses up like Betty, this was one of these episodes where I really was in sidekick storyline, where I was really only in Wilhelmina's storyline, which was kind of where I thought I would be all the time. And so I always felt so grateful whenever I had more to do, but I loved doing these scenes with Vanessa.
Yeah.
Doing these.
It's so much comedy.
So
like
funny.
You wrapping her.
Yes.
There's one scene where you walked in.
And it's so hot.
They're wrapping her and you're like, when does paper start burning? Remember, but genuinely, I'm afraid we're about to set this on fire.
Yes.
And whether you were Vanessa's sidekick or otherwise, it was always brilliant. You could have one line in an entire episode or carry an entire episode coming out to Patti LuPone.
Right.
So all of it so impactful. All of it. And I felt like you took every single thing you were given with gratitude and with as much openness. You always were game.
I opened every script assuming I'd be in, one scene.
Yeah.
And so anything more than that
I felt that way too.
Yeah,
I felt that way. And almost nervous at first when I would get more. Like in this episode, I remember thinking like, I don't know what that Amanda looks like.
Yeah, right.
And self-conscious in some ways of like, I hope I can pull it off.
Loved working with Ashley Jensen anytime we got to work with her. And this was a really hilarious episode for her.
Yeah.
To be like right in the trenches with Marc.
And also the idea of Christina and Wilhelmina were such different characters in every way. To put them together, I thought was a cool combination.
Yeah, and it's also this great thing where like it took Christina, basically an enemy of Wilhelmina, to be the one to finally say, you're great no matter what you are.
And that's what they always did. It never came from where you thought it was going to come from.
Totally.
What was your favorite look? Obviously, I already know the answer.
Well,
the Betty costume.
I mean, putting Marc in the Betty look, I'll never have a better Halloween costume in my life than that.
But it was also your big smile. Happy Halloween. Like so happy about it. I loved Betty's costume. Like I think that was the most beautiful butterfly. And then Chris Gorham in his little Superman reveal with his glasses, which I'm finding out Henry wasn't always supposed to have glasses.
That was Chris's idea.
Can you imagine a Henry without glasses?
No.
Okay. I mean, you're welcome.
Speaking of.
How about these?
Sorry, I was just here with Becki. Have you seen my friend Becki? Becki, there you are.
Here I am. Okay, we're not going to wear those either. Okay, so wait. Do you ever? When was your waterworks moment? Which we always have to address.
I have to say, waterworks was seeing. Even though I see it every Halloween, every year at Halloween, I see myself in that costume, remembering what it meant to me at the time. It sounds so silly that like I would be emotional about dressing up like Ugly Betty, but it's really special.
So cool.
Because also we shot this episode long before Halloween, obviously, but that year at Halloween, people dressed up like us.
Yes, I remember there were lots of Marc and Amandas at Halloween.
There were a lot of Bettys.
Yeah.
Of course, but there were a lot of us too. I mean,
how would people, when they dressed up as us, what would they dress like? Essentially, they'd wear no clothes and big hair. That's Amanda.
Right.
Like tiny shorts and a tie.
Yeah.
Big hair.
And Marc would be like an ascot.
Yes.
And slacks and a vest.
And a look on their faces. So it's always a vibe. Right.
But it is still, like the Marc and Amanda thing is so like still that people consider themselves like
so funny.
He's my Marc or she's my Amanda.
Oh, I love that.
But yeah, I remember feeling so grateful that I got to be just like I was on a TV show and we were doing a Halloween episode and I was dressing up like the title character.
And I think maybe, I could be wrong, it was becoming very clear that you weren't going anywhere. And maybe that was part of that feeling of like, if they're having you, the title card, mocking Betty, like, I think maybe that was part of it. As it's becoming this big hit, you were so clearly such a big part of that. And that must have been a nice thing.
It was nice.
To sense, right? And I know you never assumed anything. When did you know that you were going to be a series regular?
Well, I knew I was going to be in every episode from the beginning. So like, once the show was picked up, I knew I'd be in all the episodes.
So there's no question there. Yeah.
And that if we got a back nine, I would become a series regular.
So back nine is like we aired the first 12 and then the network says, oh, we're making more. So when they said we're making more, your name then went from the end of the episode to the front with Michael Urie. Like in the beginning.
Right.
Amazing.
That's right.
I'm glad. And so that all was happening around that time. I think.
Yeah. So I knew I was going to be in it, but I also, what I didn't know was how much I'd be in it. Like, would I just be supporting Vanessa?
Right.
Or would I have my own stories?
Yeah.
And, and I mean, really, it was that I got the title card.
That's a big
Ugly
one.
Betty title card. I mean, that iconic flash of Ugly Betty that happened at the beginning of every episode, that it was on me. It's sort of like Live from New York at Saturday night.
Yes,
It's like that kind of, I remember feeling really excited that it was going to flash over my face.
I love that.
As Betty. But
still, yeah.
Because it was always on her face. Something funny happens to her and it flashes on her.
And I never even put that all together. That's so cool.
I remember vividly that being very exciting to me.
Oh, mine was when it was seeing her and Henry connect. It was, there was something about that feeling that it reminded me, look, I met my husband 20,000 years ago, but that it reminded me of this romantic thing that like when we watch movies when we're young, like I just like that feeling and the way they played it like still makes my heart swell. And I loved that. You forget, you get so used to these characters we know for so long of like when it became clear that this was going to be a love story for them, like got me very sweetly emotional.
Gosh, they're good together. So we've got a very special treat for this episode. The incredible Chris Gorham, who plays Henry Grubstick. We have him here to talk
live
a little bit.
in studio.
Live in studio to talk about this episode, The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, which is not actually the first appearance of Henry, but when this show first aired, it was. Yeah. Because for like weird bureaucratic reasons, the episode where Henry was introduced, episode 4, Swag, didn't air until like 11 for some reason.
And I'll spend the rest of my life trying to figure that out. But this episode is the first time when I watched it, I was like, the Henry and Becki love story begins.
Yeah.
Yes.
A love story that lasted throughout all the seasons.
Yes.
In my mind, it's like Henry's always the one that got away for her.
Yeah.
And played by Chris Gorham.
And you just see the second they look each other in the eye, you just see this beautiful spark and chemistry that the characters have, but that really is a creation of what America and Chris had for each other. They were so connected as friends and as colleagues. It was I remember vividly thinking this. I remember thinking, like, are they in love in real life?
No, but it was that kind of feeling where you're like, they must be because
like,
it's that amazing.
Leave their,
like I could like
Chris
feel
leave his wife.
No, I could like.
Do I want him to?
I could feel her blushing.
Yeah.
Like I could feel watching her like look away in the elevator. I could like feel her blushing, and you can't like that. You just can't write that. Like you can write it. And you hope it works out. But anyway, welcome.
Hi.
Welcome.
This was that amazing episode. A lot of other things happened in the episode. It was Halloween. There's nothing funnier than Marc dressed up like Becki. So this whole episode opens on you wearing braces, lots of eyebrows, a wig, and her Guadalajara poncho.
Yeah, I mean, that was...
I forgot about that until I rewatched this episode.
So funny and so mean.
It's grotesque.
But like,
so
literally
funny.
dressed up like someone who works there, making fun of their outfit.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And what's also funny when you look at the episode like and actually watch it, like he wears that just to make
like the whole thing was
Amanda
designed.
laugh and Wilhelmina laugh, and then he takes it off.
Yeah.
And Becki never sees him in it.
No.
And
You're right.
Nobody else in the
It's
office
so
is
evil.
wearing a costume. It's like a joke they play.
But also, which is important, right? Because if Becki sees him in it, like it's... Because there's such a nice moment when Becki comes in and realizes that you guys pranked her and there is no costume contest.
the way she...
Right? And she rises above it.
Yeah.
As she does.
You know, and it's so good.
I guess I win.
But
she's like, I guess I win the
maybe
contest.
it's not able to do that if you're there dressed like her, making fun of her. Like that
Yeah,
would
that's
be
like too in your face
far.
embarrassing.
Yeah, it would be too far.
Yeah.
So it's like smart because the audience gets both.
Yeah.
Totally. That's really
And
smart.
I think it also sets this idea up that like these two crazy people can't wait to entertain each other. So that also fell into like, even though they're horrible, like how fun when you go to work and you can't wait to make somebody laugh. So Marc and Amanda were like you plotted that. You're like, oh my God, Amanda's face. And even they showed me just dying laughing at you. So as evil as it was, clearly these two people were entertained.
Yeah.
But that was like
then Vanessa Wilhelmina comes through and says,
she goes, that is the
coolest thing. Somebody's getting a raise.
She goes, that's the cruelest thing I've ever seen. Yeah, exactly.
So amazing. By the way, one of my, I don't know if I've ever talked about this, like one of my favorite like inside jokes with my wife, Anel, was that Vanessa Williams was obsessed with me the entire time.
She might have been. No, Vanessa, she was great in that episode. And I feel like the colors of that episode really, like Becki's costume. The
butterfly costume is
it's a beautiful
cute.
costume. My kids were watching over my shoulder and they just thought she looked beautiful. So that's what's funny too, is like they weren't laughing.
Yeah.
They just thought, what a beautiful costume. So again, the visuals of this were constant. Like it was only off because Marc and Amanda were making fun of it. But objectively speaking, she looked beautiful.
You know what? In this episode, it's coming back to me because how you mentioned that I'd shot an episode before this that didn't air till later.
Yeah.
But that explains why there is Henry doesn't introduce himself to Betty. He just comes in and starts talking to her about the costume, right?
Right.
And then you name him as if we already know who he is, right?
Yeah.
You know?
But you could get away with that
It works.
because Amanda's like, Henry from accounting.
Yeah,
or,
it works. It doesn't really bother you in the episode.
That there wasn't a formal.
But now that I'm remembering that we'd met him before,
There's a formal introduction.
now it makes sense.
But this episode felt like intentional. Like it's like
Yes.
this is about these two. And we've got Walter. So Betty is dressed as this beautiful butterfly, and Walter keeps showing up and popping out from behind doors as like a
Butterfly
a beekeeper?
Like a butterfly catcher.
Butterfly catcher.
He's wearing
He's got a net.
He's got a net and
Yeah.
he keeps showing up and catching her.
Yeah.
And it like, I could feel Betty's claustrophobia, right? So like, it's such a great example. But he's like, haha, isn't this cute? But oh my God, like take this net off of me.
Yeah.
And he's just trying so hard to get her back. And this is the episode he asks her to move in with him. Remember,
Yes.
he gives her a key.
Yep.
And you could just feel it. She's like, great. And she had this sort of weight of Walter mixed with this excitement of meeting this other wonderful human.
Yeah.
Did you guys know in this before it aired that it was going to be a hit? Did you
I
know?
don't even know I didn't even know what it would mean.
Yeah, I didn't know.
We didn't know what a back nine was.
I mean, let me tell you, coming in as an outsider who'd done this before, it was clear as day. It was like,
Based on
this
what?
is going to be. It was, you guys were just so good. You were so good. Everybody was so good. Everybody was the character. You know, there were no false notes.
Yeah.
Everything seemed real and it was funny. And the heart, it was just this huge heart, this beating heart at the center of this show that was America, but included all of
There
you.
was.
You
there
know,
was
like
a
I
strength to
remember
it.
I think it was the first scene we worked together was in this episode in 106 where I come up with the Nymphalis Moberti thing and then you have that and you're just sitting there and you were so great. I just came. I'm sure I told Annelle, that night. I was like, "Oh my God!" And this girl Becki, who plays Miranda, like Amanda. What was her name?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Like so funny. So
Don't you have that
great
next time
timing.
on Nerd Love?
Yeah, it was like no, but all I had to do. So you guys had your entire scene.
Yeah,
and I
just
just had
sitting
to
there
stand there and
eating
flip a
candy.
magazine like this.
Yeah,
But that was a gift. This is that part. Like I got to be an observer. So you guys did all the heavy lifting, and I just got to sit there and do this. And that's great. Like
But
it was a
this-
gift for me. Come on, that was.
But this is also the episode where we first see your
Amanda's
heartbreak.
mask come down. We find out, that she.
She's the one who has the watch, Daniel's watch.
Right, and I think this was actually when they started to sort of piece together. So I forgot until I watched it again that Amanda was just supposed to be one of Daniel's many love interests and then go away. So I think, and my guess is that this is around the time maybe they thought I'd be around for a while. And instead of just going away, they reveal that Amanda, yes, she slept with Daniel.
Yeah.
Yes, she wants to get ahead of the magazine, but loves him.
So you guys were in a similar, because you weren't a series regular.
No, he was a co-star in the pilot.
Right? So you guys
Co-star.
went through the same process that I did. Like you came in and we're just going to do, I don't know,
But you were a series regular.
It was like 7 episodes. I was supposed to do a few episodes, and I was told that then, it was not all shows produced. It was no. I was very aware from the beginning. I was just lucky to be there.
Yeah.
And when they picked up the show, when they say, "Oh, you got a back 9," and that happens with shows, you do your first 13 at that point. And I was waiting to hear if I would be part of it. And when I was so happy and so grateful. But it was around this episode where Amanda, we see that her mask actually comes off. She does have feelings. She loves Daniel.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite moments, and I saw it watching it back, she cries in the bathroom with Betty, and then she goes, "This never happened."
It was so
and
good.
then
So good.
stands up, puts her hand on her hip,
Yeah.
and walks out. And we see that all that is part of this thing that she does.
And you saved that. You played it so perfectly because you say, "And one more thing. Oh, and by the way,"
Oh,
or
by the
something,
way,
whatever.
this
and
never
we
happened.
think you're going to say something. We don't see it coming at all.
No.
Yeah.
That you're going to say, "This never happened."
But I remember a
played
few
it.
different ways of doing that. I remember.
wow.
Oh yeah. And by the way, this never happened.
Right.
Easy. That's the easy place to
Yeah.
go. And I'm not who directed that episode.
Rodman Flender.
Yes.
But I remember it was always this like, when do you put the mask back on with
Yeah.
Amanda? So in that very emotional, being vulnerable. We've never seen Amanda cry. No one.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think she would have cried ever. But it's like in that private moment with Betty, there was also a real moment of this never happened.
Yeah.
It wasn't mean. It was just like, we're deleting this.
Yeah.
And then just that they kept this idea of, and then she sticks her head back up and walks back out, and even Amanda's going to pretend this never happened.
Yeah.
But we see a human somewhere.
Yeah.
Did Rodman give you, do you remember him?
I remember the notes about this never happened.
He was great.
Because he was like, because I always felt like I needed to add everything to everything.
Sure.
Everything had to have spice and stuff. And he was like, what if it's just direct? What if it's just, this never happened? And how effective is that, right?
Wow.
Like it's sometimes the most effective is the most straightforward.
Yeah, sure.
It's a lesson I try to learn every day.
Yeah.
But I watched it back and then she puts her head right back up, and it buys all the silliness and all the charade because we see that she's choosing to be that way for a million different
completely
reasons.
Changes how you see Amanda.
Right, but that's Silvio did that for all of us. He was like, okay, really early on, I'm going to give you 500 different sides, and you can play with those till the end of time. We didn't get locked into anything.
Yeah.
Do you think Silvio knew? Like, I don't remember. I never remember thinking of him as like a television writer scholar. I just remember him feeling like a wunderkind.
Yes.
You know, like who just had it.
I think he was brave. I just think he was like not too worried about archetypes on TV and was like, I don't know, try it. There was such a feeling of, I don't know, go.
Can I tell you, he was such a trailblazer and does not, I don't think, really get credit for what he did and how hard it must have been. Because name another Latino showrunner of a hit show when we were doing Betty. You can't. Now there are many. Some. But then he was it.
He was it. And he was young and he was gay.
He was young, gay, and Latino. And responsible for this massive property that was already famous all around the world. Like the pressure, I can only imagine because, you know, for a guy like that, like if you fail, then you must have felt like if he failed, he was failing for all the young Latino gay writers coming up, right? That he had to succeed. Because he has to blaze that trail so that other people can do it. And I just want to I just want to acknowledge that because that must have been really, really tough. And he did something remarkable with it.
How important representation is. And here he is, a Latino writer a gay Latino writer writing about Latinos and gays. And like that being so in his wheelhouse because of who he is. But he was a writer. He also wanted to write about robot men, superhero robot men. You know, like he didn't just want to write what he knew or what he was. And yet that was where he got.
And he could so easily portray this struggle in all of these characters that I think to your point, it shows he probably was struggling himself. He was playing this part, winning awards and yay and thank you. How hard that must have been. So I think you're absolutely right to acknowledge what that must have been like.
We always say, we always say that like every character was Silvio in the show.
He had every single one of us in his brain somewhere.
We were all an extension of him. Even if maybe Justin Suarez was the closest, but like
no, we were all in there. He was so Amanda.
You were him. You were him.
Yeah.
It's so nice to see you, and I hope to see you all the time.
Likewise, good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
More Still Ugly after this short break.
For today's game, we're going to be playing a Halloween mix and match. Woo! We're going to. Do you like Halloween? Do you dress up with your kids?
I love Halloween.
Do you dress up?
At this point, there are so many children that like I focus on getting them all out the door, and I usually end up with some. I've made their costumes before.
Oh,
I'm like really.
Which one are you
into
most proud of?
The year I dressed Hope up as an acorn, I thought was one of my greatest looks. I made her an acorn hat, and they usually have to be young enough to not have an opinion about how bad it looks. So I was like really into the acorn. And as you know, the kids get older, they pick their own costumes, and isn't that fine?
What were they this year? Anything good?
Hold on. No, it wasn't the Predator. What was Rex this year? There was one year where my now 14-year-old was the Predator, while one of the little ones was Cinderella. And it was really awkward when we were walking through Gelson's because they were like holding hands to go pick out snacks. And his costume was pretty scary. So yeah, the age difference can be problematic during Halloween. But I absolutely love Halloween. I love everything about it. I love the spirit of it. I like that it's kind of an old-fashioned holiday. It always looks the same every year.
Yeah.
What about you?
I am not a huge Halloween person. I think
you're probably always doing a show.
I'm always in a show. I'm always in.
And you dress up for a living.
I spend so much time dressing up.
Yeah.
You know, like this year I was a prince on Broadway and on Halloween. Last year I was a knight in shining armor.
Yeah, you're like, I don't want to put on another costume.
I'm good.
You're good.
But I think my best Halloween costume ever was actually the night I first met America, which we've talked about. It was her boyfriend, now husband, was throwing a party. This is pre-Ugly
Betty. In LA? In New York?
In LA.
Okay.
And my good friend from college was good friends with him, Ryan.
Okay.
Ryan,
Ryan.
America's Ryan.
Yeah.
Was good friends with my friend Graham. And so I went with Graham to this party and I dressed up like an iPod.
How'd you make that one?
It was I had all white on, and
with a button in the middle.
And I like made a screen on my chest, and wrote. I was playing "Don't Stand So Close to Me" by The Police. So if you leaned in to read the title, you'd have to step away.
I love that.
And I had like string and like earmuffs for the. It was great.
Sounds really good.
Everyone knew exactly who I was.
And then you retired Halloween that year, where you're like, I'm done. I will only dress up on Broadway from now on.
Kind of.
I get it. You can't top that. Like, I'll never top Hope's acorn costume. So I don't know that I'm going to try.
It's hard. It would be, I always think it'd be fun to dress up for Halloween. And then as it gets closer, I'm like, well, I guess I could. And I always give up.
That's fine. Okay, wait. So mix and match game.
Okay, so on to business. We have a list of characters from the episode and a list of the Halloween costumes they wear, and you have to match them up.
You meaning me or
you?
Like you?
No, I mean you.
Me. Okay,
no,
good.
This is
it
you
was just
and me.
a very like broad
listeners,
you.
All they
and
can
I thought
do
the
is,
listeners are like me.
No.
But you mean me.
Stand down, listener. You don't have to do anything. I mean, you can play along, I suppose.
But you mean you. Okay.
There's also some decoys. So.
Oh, God. Okay, I'm so stressed out.
Trick or treat situation.
Okay.
So here are the names.
Okay.
Betty.
So you're going to read the names and then you're going to read the costumes and I have to say which goes with which?
Yes, so it's also a memory.
I'm exhausted.
It's like a memory game too. Okay. Betty, Marc, Amanda, Ignacio, Justin, Hilda, Wilhelmina, Henry, Walter. And here are the costumes.
Go.
Betty Suarez, a packet of soy sauce, a cat, Gene Kelly from On the Town, a butterfly, a butterfly catcher, Superman, a burglar, and Dracula.
Okay. So Ignacio was Dracula.
Correct.
Marc was Betty.
Correct.
Betty was the butterfly. Walter was the butterfly catcher. Henry was Superman. Justin was Gene Kelly. Hilda was a cat.
100%. You did. That's exactly right. There was no burglar, and
I know,
there was
those
no
others
packet of soy sauce.
You tried to fool me. Nobody was soy sauce.
Then
so what do I win?
And Amanda didn't dress up, and Wilhelmina didn't dress up.
Why didn't Amanda have no holiday spirit?
I know. Well,
She had other things she's figuring out. What do I win? A car?
You win a boop.
Yay! Okay, we actually have the pictures just to go over the brilliance of our costume department.
First is Betty as a butterfly.
Oh,
look at her.
Yeah.
So cute.
Beautiful, too. Like, so beautifully done. I want that costume.
Yeah, it's really, those little antennae. Here's Marc as Betty. Grotesque.
Oh, my God. What I like is that you have the tie and the shirt under it visible. Like, we just want to be clear that you're not naked under there.
That's so funny. And
that was so funny.
Eyebrows.
Yeah, those, and you put them on at the end of the episode again, right?
Yeah, I'm putting them on, and that hot guy that Wilhelmina's dating.
And then you ripped it. Were you putting them on just for fun?
I think I was getting ready to go out. I was going to go out as her. I think that's how I justified it, why I would be putting them back on. Then we have Ignacio as Dracula.
Oh,
fabulous.
I like that he has grown kids and still dresses up. Love that.
Justin as Gene Kelly from On the Town.
When he runs out of the room like this.
So funny.
And they let it go out of frame like that. Brilliant. It's so funny.
New York,
because it wasn't just exit, it's exit, and we're going to keep watching you exit. Brilliant.
And his voice, that was what, he has such a good voice.
He's
such a good little singer.
And you could tell he was having such a good time.
Then we have Hilda as a cat. Look at this fox.
Yes, sexy cat.
I mean, it's a cat,
of course.
but she's also a fox.
And look at Walter in his butterfly outfit in the background there.
She looks so good.
She looks great.
And then Henry as super accountant.
Yes, Henry Grubstick.
Technically, he's super accountant. That's probably a rights issue.
Oh, but that's even more brilliant because I'm Superman with the money.
Yeah, because it's a dollar sign.
Adorable.
Finally, we have Walter as a butterfly catcher.
Yeah, and the perfect expression to go with it.
That hat. So
she goes, "You're embarrassing me." And he's like, "I don't want to be an embarrassment." Meanwhile, standing there like,
yeah, exactly.
Right? You already are, Walter. Oh, that was amazing.
That was great.
Loved this episode. Love every holiday episode. And yeah.
Time for fan questions.
Yay!
This is really cool. We've got a question that somebody left us a voicemail. And again, listeners, if you wanna send us a question or a thought or a dirty little secret.
Please do. It doesn't even have to be about the show. Tell us anything you want. Ask us anything you want. We love this
You
stuff.
can email us at stilluglypodcast@gmail.com, or you can leave a voicemail. We love hearing your voice at 347-480-1821. Okay, this is a juicy one. It's from Olivia in Chappaqua, New York. Let's listen.
Okay, this is embarrassing, but I have kind of a debilitating crush on one of my coworkers. And we work together at a restaurant, but I just found out that he's being transferred to be a manager at a different restaurant, but like within the same company. So do you think that it is safe for me to ask him out? Or like, should I wait until he leaves? But then is it too risky because he's going to be a manager? And like, what if he gets transferred back? Or just, I don't know, what should I do?
Okay, very obvious to me.
Quit your job.
Okay, he's already being transferred. Her response, first of all, ask him out anytime you want, but he's going to be somewhere else. So definitely ask him out. Be like, I know you're on your way out. Oh, you're gathering your stuff. By the way, I love you. See how much game I have? Make sure you tell him before he goes.
I know you're
if he
gathering
doesn't,
your stuff.
it's like if he doesn't like her back, he's got the out anyway because they're not going to run into each other at work.
Right.
Worrying about him getting transferred back, I don't know. I feel like anything can happen. That's too much to worry about. He's no longer your manager. He's going somewhere else. Have fun. Have fun working somewhere else. I love you.
But the workplace romance thing is not the same as it was when you and I were dating. It's like a
thing.
It's like a complicated issue now.
But he's not working there anymore.
Well, that's true. But he's still in the company, and he's a superior.
Oof.
But it doesn't sound like he's
I feel like in a different
manager.
place.
It seems like
to me, if you're in a different location,
it's okay.
Like you can't overthink. Like I can't ask out someone who works for the same company somewhere else. I go with geography. I'm like, well, if geographically we're not interacting at work, you're not in charge of my paycheck. Therefore, I can ask you out. Yes.
Right.
Wrong. I have no game. I met my husband 3,000 years ago before people even texted each other.
On the
no
subway.
Game. On the subway. And I called him at 8 a.m. in the morning, and you're a Broadway guy. You know how annoying that would be, after our first date to tell him, thank you for dinner. He's like, what time is it? I was like, it's 8 a.m. He's like, thanks. I'm going to go back to bed now. So yeah, I don't have game. I don't know how to play this. I don't know how to play anything.
I don't remember what I have no recollection of what asking somebody out on a date is like. It's such a weird.
My husband is calling. He heard us.
He
I'm
heard
just kidding.
you talking about him. He's like, I was awake.
I was awake the whole time. But like, what? So, do you think it's okay for her to?
I don't know. It's a tough one.
Really? I feel like it's so not tough.
I get why she's in a predicament, and I love that she said she has a debilitating crush.
Debilitating. I feel like if it's that debilitating, you have to find a way.
I think she definitely has to find a way. I agree. She has to find a way.
How about she puts it on him? Like, hey, listen, not sure this is allowed. And then he has another out. He can be like, if he really doesn't like her, he'll be like, it's not okay with management. But if he really likes her, then he'll make sure it's okay.
I agree. She needs to tell him. And this is probably the time.
It's time.
Either right before he's done or right after he leaves.
Just to leave him with that little nugget. Do you think I love you is too forward? Because I don't.
I think I love you is too forward. Yeah, no, I think I love you.
You think 0 to I love you. I've loved you for a long time.
I think I have a debilitating crush on you is way more romantic.
Yeah, like I can't function because I'm thinking about you so much.
Yeah.
That feels like out of my playbook.
That's hot. If someone said that to me, I would get
more than I love you.
Oh yeah, I love you feels like too. It's like
So, but I've a debilitating. I can't function without you. Doesn't feel more than I love you.
No, because it's obviously she's obviously being sarcastic.
I don't think so.
You think she actually can't function?
I think the reason
she's dropping trays at work.
She called us because she can't she can't live with it. She's falling over at work, throwing things at
Getting
people.
orders wrong.
Right. They're like, what's wrong with her? She's like, it's not me. It's
giving
this
people
crush.
with a peanut allergy nuts.
Oh,
like,
God.
It's awful. People are like dying.
It's that debilitating.
Yeah, I think if someone came up and said, I love you, like I'm in love with you.
Okay.
Then it's like.
I use both of those.
You seem crazy because. Well, then you just seem crazy because you don't know me that way yet. I don't think you can be in love with somebody before you're in some kind of reciprocation.
Okay. Fair. To each his own.
Romantic. Don't you think, like,
yes, usually I love you implies a connection.
Yeah, because you're just making it up. It's an idea. You're imagining.
It's true.
You're imagining being in love. Well, good luck, Olivia.
Good luck, Olivia. In Chappaqua, I think you're going to be fine. There aren't that many restaurants, right? Like, do you think it's restaurants next door? Like, what do we think?
There aren't that many restaurants in Chappaqua.
So if he's still in Chappaqua, so we hope that he's still geographically similar, but just not her boss anymore. Does he write her a paycheck? If the answer is yes,
well, that's tricky.
Someone needs to quit. If the answer is no, tell him right now. If the answer is maybe, tell him right now.
I think this is good.
It's always better to try.
I think this is good.
Now,
well, as we always do on the Still Ugly podcast, we are going to close out by saying something nice to each other. Becki, you
shall
go
I
first.
begin? Okay, I love you, and I love you. And I feel like it was love at first sight, and I would have told you that then, or maybe not. How soon did I tell you that you were my favorite? Pretty quickly.
Yeah, we were.
I feel like I did not play that close to the vest.
No, we were. No, we.
I feel like right away we had no problem saying like, "Thank God you're here,"
no,
and I love you,
and calling each other.
It was for me for first sight.
Yeah, for sure. My nice thing about you is that and it's appropriate, I think, to give you this particular compliment.
I'm nervous.
On this particular episode, because it's when we really first see your dramatic chops.
Oh.
And why
am I going to start laughing?
Because I said dramatic. You just heard the word dramatic and it makes you laugh. You are such a good actor and you're so humble. And I'm going to say, I'm complimenting you for being humble. I wish I could be that way.
You are the most humble and the most talented, even when we talk about Julia.
Your dramatic chops make their first appearance on the Ugly Betty program in this episode, and they're terrific, and you're very humble about it. But
thank you very much.
It's good stuff.
Till next time, come back soon.
Goodbye, everybody.
Watch us a lot and like us a lot, please.
Yeah, please.
We're very needy. Still Ugly is filmed at Rabbit Grin Studios.
Produced by Rabbit Grin Productions.
Music by the one and only Jeff Beal.
Executive produced by Rob Hollis, Jeff Porter, Natalie Hollis.
Creative producer, Jesse Thurston.
Video edit and mix master by Chris Fowler.